So it looked like Dijonai Carrington just got booted from the Dallas Wings.
She has a really good ability to hand check with her left hand while swiping across your body with her right hand, hitting all body and getting away with no calls.
The basketball gods have spoken, and they have zero tolerance for dirty plays. Dijonai Carrington, the player who became infamous for poking Caitlin Clark in the eye during the playoffs, has just been traded for the second time in 6 months. Coincidence? Not a chance. This is karma at its most brutal, and the message is crystal clear. Mess with the face of women's basketball, and your career becomes a nightmare of constant relocations and unwanted baggage.
Dijonai Carrington is just terrible at basketball. She's not a good defender. She can't shoot. She's not a good scorer at the rim. She can't really dribble. Or she has low IQ.
But before we dive into this beautiful display of cosmic justice, you need to understand just how dirty that original eye poke really was. We're not talking about an accidental basketball play here. We're talking about a moment that exposed the ugly underbelly of veteran jealousy toward the sport's biggest star.
Between the two. Now, Dijonai Carrington couldn't keep her hands clean either. Would stand out of headlines on the internet.
September 2024, WNBA playoffs. Game 1 between the Connecticut Sun and Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation who had just transformed women's basketball forever, was making her playoff debut. The anticipation was electric. The stakes were massive. And then boom, Dijonai Carrington's finger found Clark's eye in what would become the most controversial moment of the season.
Harassed by Carrington, finds Boston. Clark gets hit in the face by Carrington and is down. Caitlin Clark is down, no call as Connecticut takes advantage, and Clark is still down after taking a shot following the pass to Boston.
The video evidence is damning. Watch it in slow motion and tell me that's a natural basketball motion. Carrington's hand goes directly to Clark's face. Her finger catches the eye, and suddenly, the league's biggest draw is playing with a black eye that would make a prize fighter jealous. No foul called, no consequences. Just Clark writhing in pain while Carrington acted like it was business as usual. The aftermath was even more disgusting. Instead of showing any remorse or concern for injuring the sport's biggest star, Carrington doubled down. When reporters asked if the poke was intentional, she got defensive, played victim, and acted like she was being unfairly targeted.
Dijonai, did you, when you went and swatted at Caitlin, did you intend to hit her in the eye? And if so, could you just, or not either way, could you talk about what happened on that play?
I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me, but no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually.
The audacity was breathtaking. Poke someone in the eye and then complain about people questioning your motives. But here's where the story gets absolutely delicious. The basketball gods were watching, and they started serving up justice immediately. Fast forward to February 2025, and suddenly Carrington finds herself traded from Connecticut to Dallas. The official reason? Roster construction. The real reason? Nobody wanted the baggage that came with employing the player who had become synonymous with dirty play against Caitlin Clark. The Dallas Wings thought they could handle the controversy, thought they could separate the player from the moment. They were wrong. Dead wrong. From the moment Carrington arrived in Dallas, the fan base was divided. Every time she touched the ball, people remembered the eye poke. Every aggressive play she made got scrutinized. The Clark incident had turned her into radioactive material that no team could fully embrace. And now, just 6 months later, Dallas has had enough. The Wings just shipped Carrington off to Minnesota like she's damaged goods at a clearance sale.
Like Dallas was not having it. Now, we do know they head coach has some choicy words to say in their last press conference about the team. He pretty much said that the Indiana Fever bullied them all the way up and down the court.
Think about that for a second. This is a player who was the most improved player of the year. Someone who should be a valuable asset, and teams are treating her like a hot potato nobody wants to hold for too long. The Minnesota Lynx think they're getting a steal, acquiring talent for Diamond Miller, Carly Samuelson, and a second-round pick. But they're not just getting a player, they're inheriting a curse. They're bringing in someone whose biggest claim to fame isn't her basketball skills, but the fact that she injured the most beloved player in women's basketball history. Let's be brutally honest about what's really happening here. Dijonai Carrington has become the perfect example of how one moment can define an entire career. She could average 30 points a game, win MVP awards, and break every record in the book. But she'll always be remembered as the player who poked Caitlin Clark in the eye. That's her legacy now, and no amount of trades or fresh starts can change it.
I'm about 80% sure there was probably some type of locker room drama.
The psychological toll this has to be taking on Carrington is probably immense. Imagine being a professional athlete and knowing that wherever you go, fans are going to remember you for hurting their favorite player. Imagine walking into hostile arenas where thousands of people see you as the villain who tried to derail the Clark Express. That's not just basketball pressure, that's carrying the weight of being public enemy #1 in women's sports.
Dijonai, you're always in a dirty play. Dijonai.
But here's what makes the situation even more fascinating. The eye poke was just the beginning of Carrington's dirty play resume. She pulled LA Sparks rookie Sarah Ashley Barker down by her hair during a rebound battle, earning another controversy that had fans calling her the league's dirtiest player.
Whoa! If she would have had extensions, it would have come off.
Then came the flagrant foul on Seattle's Skylar Diggins, where she made contact with her head and sent Diggins crashing to the floor. A pattern was emerging, aggressive plays that crossed the line, followed by defensiveness when called out. Carrington brought this all on herself through repeated questionable behavior. The eye poke wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a brand of basketball that prioritizes intimidation over clean competition. The teams trading her aren't just making basketball decisions, they're making business decisions. Having Dijonai Carrington on your roster means dealing with constant questions about the eye poke incident. It means having a player whose mere presence reminds people of controversy. It means managing the optics of employing someone who injured the sport's biggest draw. What's even more brutal is how this contrasts with Caitlin Clark's trajectory. While Carrington has been bounced around like a pinball, Clark has become the undisputed face of women's basketball. Rookie of the Year, breaking viewership records, selling out arenas, transforming the entire landscape of the sport. The player who got poked in the eye is now ruling the basketball world, while the poker is getting shipped from city to city like unwanted freight. The Minnesota Lynx are about to learn what Connecticut and Dallas already figured out. Talent doesn't matter when it comes with toxic baggage. Carrington might help them win games, but she'll also bring constant reminders of the ugliest moment in recent WNBA playoff history. Every time she steps on the court against Indiana, every time she makes an aggressive play, people will remember what she did to Clark. This isn't just about basketball karma, it's about how the universe handles injustice. Caitlin Clark handled that eye poke with incredible grace, never complained, never demanded retribution, just kept playing and kept dominating. But the basketball gods saw everything, and they've been delivering consequences ever since. Dijonai Carrington went from being a rising star to being basketball's version of a cursed object that nobody wants to keep for too long. 2 trades in 6 months isn't roster management. It's teams cutting their losses before the curse spreads to their entire organization. Watch this space, because Minnesota will learn the same lesson Connecticut and Dallas already know. Some players come with more baggage than talent, and Dijonai Carrington's baggage has Caitlin Clark's name written all over it. The most damning part of this entire saga isn't just the incidents themselves, it's how Carrington has handled the aftermath. While other players who've made questionable plays have shown remorse and worked to rebuild their reputation, Carrington has consistently played the victim card. When confronted about the eye poke, she acted offended that anyone would question her intentions. When called out for the hair-pulling incident, she deflected responsibility. This pattern of refusing accountability has made her toxic in locker rooms across the league. Sources close to multiple organizations have whispered that Carrington's attitude behind closed doors is even worse than her public persona. Teammates report walking on eggshells around her, afraid that any criticism will result in explosive confrontations. Coaching staffs have struggled with a player who believes she's being unfairly persecuted while continuing to make the same dirty plays that got her in trouble initially. The financial implications for teams are staggering. Every time Carrington steps on the court, there's potential for another viral controversy that damages the team's brand. Marketing departments have nightmares about trying to promote a player whose highlight reel includes eye pokes and hair pulls. Sponsors get nervous about being associated with someone who represents the ugly side of competitive sports. What makes this situation even more infuriating is how it overshadows legitimate basketball discussion. Instead of analyzing Carrington's improved three-point shooting or defensive versatility, every conversation inevitably returns to her dirty plays. She's essentially sabotaged her own career narrative, turning herself from a rising star into a cautionary tale about how poor decisions follow you forever. The Minnesota Lynx front office probably thinks they're being clever, acquiring talent that other teams have given up on, but they're about to discover what Connecticut and Dallas learned the hard way. Some players aren't worth the headache, regardless of their statistical production. Every time Carrington makes a hard foul, every aggressive screen, every physical play will be scrutinized through the lens of her previous incidents. The psychological warfare aspect is fascinating to watch unfold. Opposing players now target Carrington specifically because they know she has a reputation for losing her composure. They bait her into technical fouls, knowing that her history makes referees more likely to call her for aggressive plays. She's become a liability that smart teams actively exploit, using her own reputation against her. Perhaps the most ironic twist in this entire story is how Carrington's dirty play has actually elevated Caitlin Clark's status even higher. Every time someone mentions the eye poke incident, it reminds fans of how gracefully Clark handled the situation. While Carrington's career becomes a cautionary tale about consequences, Clark's response has become a masterclass in professionalism under pressure. The younger generation of WNBA players is watching this unfold with keen interest. They're seeing firsthand how one moment of poor judgment can haunt an entire career. Carrington has inadvertently become the perfect example of what not to do, both on the court with dirty plays and off the court with defensive responses to legitimate criticism. Team chemistry experts point to Carrington as a case study in how individual toxicity can poison entire organizations. When one player consistently brings controversy and refuses to take accountability, it creates an environment where other players either enable the behavior or become resentful of having to constantly defend their teammates' actions. The most brutal part about Carrington's situation is that redemption remains possible, but she'd have to completely transform her approach. She'd need to publicly acknowledge her past mistakes, commit to cleaner play, and demonstrate genuine growth over an extended period. Instead, she continues the same patterns that got her into this mess, ensuring that her reputation will follow her to Minnesota and beyond. The WNBA has worked incredibly hard to build a professional, family-friendly brand that attracts mainstream audiences. Players like Carrington, who bring unnecessary controversy and dirty play, threaten that carefully constructed image. Her repeated trades aren't just about basketball fit, they're about organizational values and brand protection. As Carrington prepares for her third team in less than a year, one thing is certain: the basketball gods aren't finished with her yet. Until she learns to play clean and take responsibility for her actions, she'll continue to be shipped around like damaged goods. A cautionary tale about how karma works in professional sports.